Hello, it's Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. This is ChrisVossShow.com. Coming here with a blog post I want to share. Of course, review the latest in social media and technology. This is from Yamaha. This is an AV receiver, amplituner, audio, video receiver. It's an RX-V473 from Yamaha Corporation. This is a really cool, one of the latest on the market. Devices for being a receiver for your stereo system, your TV, everything else. What's really neat about this device is it not only has HDMI, Dolby, of course, DTS, of course. It's made for the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad. It has Airplay integration with it to where you can use your Airplay on it. Now, what it also has is what's called DLNA, and it will actually work with your Android devices that have DLNA control technology with them. What is also cool is Yamaha, for its receivers, has an iPhone and an Android app, so you can control the receivers through that. And it depends on the device, of course, but it looks like ours should work with it. So we're going to review this and open up and check it out. Now we have pre-cut open the top of the box. We had some damage on the one side of the box, and we want to make sure it didn't damage the receiver after we left the store. So we opened it in the parking lot, but we haven't unpacked it yet. So you are going to get to see a full unboxing here. So let's go ahead and do that now, so that we can get into that. Go ahead and pull this open. Now, what we have is we've got your remote control, of course, there. Those are always good to have because that way you can do the stuff. We'll get some more into that. We've got a FM antenna wire thing. I'm really surprised that anybody bothers putting these on. We've got another kind of cable antenna sort of wiring. I'm surprised that anybody uses that anymore. Look, it even comes with the CD-ROM software for some reason. Owner's manual, I guess, is on the CD-ROM is what it is. And it looks like we probably have some warranty, registration stuff, all that normal stuff you see when you unbox or unpackage stuff. Looks like we have a sound monitoring device. Usually, let's see if I'm sure what this is. Usually, this is a type of device that you use to determine where the sound is in the room. But I could be wrong. This could be something else. We'll find out as we open up the box. And we've got batteries. That's the whole reason I spent all this money for this receiver, is just to get some batteries. So let's go ahead and pull the unit out. Oh boy, this is going to be a bit of work. Let's go ahead and go like this with it. And it's really nice. We've got it on its top. Okay. Hopefully I don't smash all my buttons and stuff in this crazy, wild, sequenced unboxing. Okay, so we're going to go this way. Let's just go ahead and get me another of it. There we go. Peel off the protective condiments, if you will. Condiments. So there you can see the front of the receiver. Let's pull it forward a bit. Now, what we're going to do is see if we can get in a little closer. Okay, so we've got a power button over here. We've got a Y-pad mic. We'll find out what that is. It does hook up to a network also. You've got your headphones jack, input left and right channels, I think, or some sort of, well, it switches between the different inputs that you can have. Tone control program along the bottom. This is, I think, an auxiliary video input. USB also is on here, which is interesting. Big volume dial knob, which is the most important. Direct button. Along here we've got radio, net, TV, and DVD. Looks like blue something, DVD, Blu-ray maybe. And we've got, let's see, info, memory, presets, FM, AM. Actually, AM radio on this. It's so funny, tuning. So you can see that's that. There's not much to see down the sides of the device, of course, because everything is in the back on these types of receivers. So you can see here we've got all of our different inputs. We've got 4 HDMI inputs, and then one HDMI output, which you'd probably put your TV. We've got some optical and some other component plugins. We've got some direct digital. It looks like we've got two opticals actually. We got the AM plug. I suppose that's maybe what some of that stuff is for. We've got our dogs making some noise in the background there. And then we've got your front, your center, and your surround. This is a 5.1 system, not a 7.1 or 7.2. And I believe they said it'll output 115 watts per channel. And then, of course, you got a network thing here, which is really interesting. I've never had a receiver yet that plugs into the network. So what we're going to do is plug this baby up, get all hooked up to our massive Infinity and Boston speakers, and test it out and tell you what we really think. Okay, so we've been playing with the Yamaha for a couple days now. We're very, very, very impressed with it. Let's go over some of the different details about it. You're looking at dimensions at 17.1 inches in width, 12.4 inches in depth, how far it goes back, and 6.3 inches in height. It's got a good clearance underneath it too, which I really like. Our last receiver had a very low clearance and spent a lot of time heating up the giant Infinity speaker that you see this thing sitting on. And I really didn't like, the heat that it was keeping contained in there. Comes in black, although we did see one that's a silver color on the internet with a silver plate here, so I'm not sure what that is. The weight's 20.9 pounds, so it's not too heavy. Let's see here. And that's the shipping weight, I should probably mention to you, so that's going to include the box and some other things. We don't have a separate weight for the device in and of itself. The audio on it's 5.1-channel, 80-watt amplifier output details, THD 0.9%, 7 channels surround, 20 to 20,000 hertz, THD 2 channels surround sound. The sound output mode is built for surround sound. Of course, we're using it with just left and right center speakers because we have some massive speakers that they're too huge to own 4 of them. 24-bit audio DA converter, of course. Dolby Digital Plus, DTS HD high resolution, DTS HD master audio, and Dolby True HD. Comes with several surround sound effects: Cinema DSP, 3D, Silent Cinema DSP, and Virtual Cinema DSP. Digital sound processor. It has output power total of 115 watts. I gotta tell you, it rocks. I have 2 massive, giant 4.5 foot tall speakers from Infinity, and in the center I have a massive Boston Acoustic that almost weighs as much as the Infinities. If I hurled it at someone, I would kill them. If I could hurl it, you'd have to have somebody who's a master hurler to be able to muscle that. My speakers can take a lot of juice, and this thing does an incredible job. One thing I really like, it has a very speedy volume up and down system. I can easily get the volume up and down very quickly, which is very great, especially if a loud TV or advertising comes on. It's not very slow. In its latency, being able to get your volume up and down, I really have enjoyed its ability to blast my speakers, and I've turned the receiver up so loud I pretty much shook my fillings loose, gave myself a vasectomy, and I think there might be some blood on my stool. It rocks. I mean, if you've got some really great speakers, this thing will put out a tonnage of amplitude to make them rock. I'm just kidding about the other stuff, but we did shake the house pretty well. My neighbors are like, what's going on over there? It has Airplay built in. Now, the Airplay works with your Apple TV, and we'll get to that back here in a second. Let's talk about some additional future things. There's the Yamaha Panoramic Room Acoustic Amp Optimizer. We'll get back to that. It has color technology, X and V color technology, deep color, compressed music enhancer, DLNA 1.5 certified. That's the only reason I wanted this, was to work with my DNLA devices. iPod and iPhone compatible, and iPad also. Ethernet, you can also do this Wi-Fi ready. You have to buy an adapter that's sold separately. It has a V-tuner for internet streaming services. You can use a USB flash drive in here, or you can use your iOS devices. Digital tuner-wise, AM, FM digital, 40 presets, HDMI connectors, and you saw most of the connectors on the back and everything else. We got coax digital input, optical digital input, HDMI switching, The HDMI features too are really great too. It's got standby pass-through, audio return channel ARC with a 4K pass-through. That's really nice. You can actually control some of your devices that have the HDMI audio return availability on them to be able to take and do that. Remote control works really good, although it does have a million buttons. It's a little too crowded. And auto calibration, microphone, remote control, and that's pretty much it. Let's see here. Let's talk about a few things about the amplifier. We're really blown away at its operation. Like I said, it's definitely rocked. For being I think we paid $350 for this baby at Christmas 2012. Been very impressed for the price of what we got. The last receiver we bought several years ago, we paid $300 for it and couldn't even power my giant Infinities. This thing blows my Infinities away. In fact, we haven't taken all the point of seeing how loud the amplifier can go before my speakers start blowing up. Maybe we'll try that when we get bored someday. Throw some metallic in and rock it. The YPAO mic that's here, that basically little circular thing you saw with the nipple when we did the unboxing, you plug that in, you run the wire out to where you normally sit in your room and listen to music or watch TV, and you run the sequence that it will give you in the manual so that you can take and figure out the best way to save your speakers. You can also go into the on-screen menu. The on-screen menu isn't that great, but you don't buy a TV computer receiver for the computer graphics, if you will. You buy a receiver for putting out amplitude and sound. Amplitude, that's the word. So you can see here you got your info that it will take and give you, etc., on songs and artists when you're plugging through. I think we've got it set up for Airplay right now. You've got USB input, auxiliary HDMI modes, of course, you can flip through. All this can be controlled, of course, through the remote control. Tone control, you've got control over that. Just some basics ones there. You can take and program several different settings that you want to take and do for your setups. Let's go into some other areas so that we can show you that. In programming, you've got several different movie sound scenarios that are set up, different scenes, if you will, that you can take and play with. You can see here you can have some of this is programmed to the different main functions that you'll use on your device so you can quickly get back to where you get through. You can also go straight through as opposed to using the different cinema scope or cinema, what do they call them? Cinema DSP 3D scenarios, whatever works best for you. You got your, of course, your headphone jack that's over here and all that good stuff. Now, one of the things we're very impressed with, like I said, is we, as you heard me mention in the list, they've got some color features or some sort of improvement quality in the processor for the HDMI output. Originally, we had our Blu-ray, our Apple TV, and our Xbox 360 sent directly to the TV, and then the TV sent the sound to our receiver. With this new Yamaha, what we've done is we've sent the sound to, or the HDMI, everything, the sound through the HDMI to the Yamaha first, and then it goes to the TV. I got to tell you, we're getting a mind-blowingly much richer color out of the TV, and it's a 1080p than we were before by putting it through the Yamaha first. I don't know why. There's definitely some color amplitude or features that they reference in their specs list. Whatever the processor in here that processes the outgoing HDMI does a great amp up job. I could swear that the images are sharper. It could just be the colors popping more. But whatever they've done, it's an awesome job. I would have paid $350 just for the better color on my TV and how much I really, really, really like the look of my TV now. I swear to God, it's sharper. It just seems that way. I'm not sure that's true, but it definitely seems sharper, and the color is just so freaking rich. It's not even crazy. The blues are super blue, and it just looks great. So I'm really impressed with it. Just for that alone, I paid the $350 for the device. But that's one of the side benefits I didn't even anticipate out of the Yamaha. So the other thing we want to talk about is, of course, it's got USB in the front, video auxiliaries up front. Oh yeah, if you've got Xbox and gaming, it'll make your Xbox gaming games look so freaking rich in color. It's not even funny. We were very impressed with that. Now, the Airplay that you have on here, how this works is, let's see, I guess we're in a different mode here. The Airplay that's on here, how this works is, of course, you have to have Apple TV. It does not work on its own, as some people might get the impression of that. Let's see if we can find it. USB. Maybe I've got a program wrong. We're going to go direct. I'm still figuring it out. Okay, so there's Airplay on it. And it does look like I'm gonna have to go find the remote or something. But there's Airplay on it. What do we do, Stu? There's Airplay on it, and essentially you have to have Apple TV. It does not go directly into the device and create Airplay without Apple TV. You have to have Apple TV, and I'm not sure they really specify that. Yeah, I'd have to read the instructions board, but it wasn't really clear. I was kind of like, wow, this is cool. It'll do its own Apple TV. It doesn't. So what happens is you have to have it on the same networking hub, or you've got to configure it properly with your iOS devices to get the Yamaha and your Apple TV to talk to each other and your iOS devices. Now, I just moved to a new place, and one of the problems is we added a hub across the room for my stereo system and my Blu-ray and my Apple TV and everything, and it runs on a separate hub from the hub that comes in the house. Now, it's the same network, but it's a different hub. Problem is I couldn't get the Yamaha to see the apps for both the Android and the iOS, and I couldn't get my Airplay to work with either my Apple TV or the Yamaha. The problem was the hub that I had, because I was using a secondary hub, and I'm not a professional in hooking up networking hubs, and I don't think the consumer is either. So we talked to a lot of people, and they told us, yeah, that's one of the challenges you have with devices, getting it hooked up with multiple hubs if you have them. I don't know that most people are going to be able to. If you're going to buy a toy like this and have iOS devices, you're going to need a lot of hubs on your port, or you're going to need 2 hubs. So anyway, because I mean, just your Apple TV and your Yamaha will take 2 of your ports, and if you only have 4, sometimes 6 on your main line in, you're definitely going to have 2 ports. I was disappointed that Yamaha didn't give better indications on how to resolve that issue. If you have multiple hubs, it doesn't even tell you if that's going to be a problem. So we spent a lot of time trying to figure out why it wouldn't work with the iOS devices and the apps and the Android apps, and why it wasn't working with the hub, why we couldn't even get our Apple TV to work, so that was part of the problem too. And all of it was because we had it on a separate second hub that's plugged in directly to the first hubs. Don't ask me. But here's the big picture. We finally got it to work by changing over the hubs, plugging it in. You could get it to work by adding on the extended Wi-Fi to the back of this thing, get the add-on. But it works. Now what happens is you go into your Apple TV, you say, hey, we want the sound to be sent out through the Apple TV to this thing, and it will take and do it. The screwy thing with that whole thing is your Apple TV is going to be probably directly plugged into this anyway, so sending to it for Airplay is kind of ludicrous. Now, if you have this in a separate room or across the room from your Apple TV, and you have the Apple TV on a Wi-Fi, and then you buy the Wi-Fi adapter for this, the Airplay might be cool to have on this. Other than that, you're probably going to run it through this directly if you're smart, and you're not going to worry about all that other stuff. But some people may have it hooked up differently. So just some advice on that. We were kind of frustrated. Now, we did talk to a lot of people on the net trying to resolve this problem, and they love these devices that they had. We talked to people who had the 473 and 673, which I believe was a 7.1 or 7.2 channel output. And they did say there was trouble getting those set up, but once they did, they've loved their devices and they've had a great experience with them. So I didn't hear one bad word about the Yamahas other than that. And I do wish Yamaha would give some better instructions on that. They kind of blue sky a little bit in their videos and everything. It's like, hey, you plug it in and the Airplay works and it's just fine and it's no big deal. It's really not. And some of the details that I've given you are something I probably would have liked to know before I bought it. Would it have kept me from buying it? No. I bought it for the amplitude and the volume and being able to rock, and the HDMI color output, of course, is a side benefit that's just awesome. So one thing you can do is you can plug this in directly to your iOS devices. Now, we couldn't get the USB port to work with Android devices even enabling like DNLNA and stuff like that. We couldn't figure out how to get it to work, and it doesn't say that it will work. We were just trying to see how far we could get with making our own trouble. Now, with iOS devices, which it does say it will work with, you can plug those directly into the USB. And what's really cool is it will display the song, artist title, all that good stuff up here, and it will also display it on your TV. Now, what was really cool about it is iMatch. The files don't have to be on your phone. That was one thing we were worried about. So you could run it through iMatch, you could run it through Spotify, you could even get Google Music to play through here. You just download one of the Google Music apps on the Apple Store iOS devices, put it on, and as long as the app works, you'll be able to play it on this device. So that worked out really cool. You could, even if you have an Android, if you have somebody in your house who's got an iOS device, you can tap into your Android music on Android Play Store. You can tap into it and be able to play it on your Yamaha. So that worked out really well with the USB. We were hoping that we could get the Android to work with it, but that wasn't going to go our way. So the apps are kind of hard to get to work. We just given up on the apps at this point. We've got to set this up to where it's all on the same network, and we're just too lazy to get that done so far to really test it. So good luck with that. It's one of those things where the company, Yamaha, obviously builds a great receiver, and they throw in some of these kind of additional things, and who knows how well they work or not. There's an iOS app that goes with it, and it even says when the iOS app pops up that may work with some devices, may not work with others. That's probably angled towards the Android folks who have so much of their fractional stuff. Anyway, I know I've gone on about a lot of details, but there's a lot of stuff I did want to tell you about the device and some of the issues we've had. And we really like the device. We're very impressed with it. I'd say we're a 9 out of a 10 on the device. And we really wish Yamaha would give us a little bit more directions with having dual hubs. In fact, we can't find any directions for dual hubs. Certainly anybody who buys this receiver is going to have dual hubs, at least in my mind. But other than that, it rocks. I mean, it's worth $350 just for the color and the quality and the richness you're going to come out with your HDMI conversion. And then the sound alone's worth $350. Yeah, it's an awesome receiver. So great product, great output. I still haven't found the max on it. I'm not sure I really want to. I'm kind of scared. We took it up really, really high, and still it wants to pop my speakers or anything, and the receiver wasn't giving out at all. And yeah, it was just a fight to the death. And finally we just went, well, we'd like to be able to hear tomorrow. So got to tell you, the sound is freaking awesome. Freaking awesome. I'm so glad it does a great job. If you have a 7.1 or 7.2 channel sort of setup where you have multiple speakers, more than we do, you may want to look at the next receiver up, which is the V473, or some of the other models they have out there. Anyway, be sure to check it out. It's the Yamaha RX-V473 natural sound EV receiver. We love it, and in spite of some of the things I told you, we really do love it. I want to make sure I make that clear. Thanks for coming by the ChrisVossShow.com. Be sure to check back off, and be sure to subscribe to all of our channels. Go to Yamaha.com. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. Chris Voss tested, Chris Voss approved. Be sure to check back often.